You're okay, ma'am. You're safe now. Can you look at me?
They're still out there.
We'll take care of it. Right now, we just need to get you warm.
Dispatch, victim located. We're heading back to the vehicle.
Easy does it. Lean on me.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back. It's been a hot minute since we did a recording. We're back.
It has been. I know, life's been so crazy.
Crazy. Yeah, so we're back, and tonight we have a story. This took place in the 1840s. The 1840s.
Oh, dang, that's like way back.
Yeah.
I love old ones.
I keep finding cases that are really old because I like them because nobody covers
I do too. Yes.
This one is called The Tale of the Dueling Doctors. And the last time we did a recording, it was The Dueling Aeronauts. So if you haven't seen that one, go back and watch it. That one was pretty interesting. I think before that we had The Alluring Josephine. And then she created a lot of chaos.
It's always those certain women.
These women. So these two doctors, we'll go into it. So there's two doctors, Dr. John Webster and Dr. George Parkman, and they were really, really good friends. Dr. Webster was a professor of chemistry and mineralogy at Harvard in Cambridge, and Dr. Parkman was a physician who lived in Boston. George graduated from Harvard in 1809 and then received his degree in medicine in Aberdeen, Scotland in 1813. Cool.
That's really cool.
Scotland's cool. Yeah, and then he returned to Boston and really became a really well-known doctor, built a huge practice. He started buying a lot of property. In 1849, he was 66 years old and was described as slender with a prominent chin and was described as punctual, energetic, and impetuous.
That's pretty good for back then.
I know.
At that age, I'm like, dang, like right on.
I know. He was someone who sought justice and demanded fairness. I kind of like this guy. I like him a lot. He probably fought for the underdog. You know, he was sounding like a really cool guy. So, Doctor in 1846. Okay, so I have to get this straight in my head. So, John Webster, Dr. Webster, was the chemistry professor, and Parkman was the doctor. Okay, so Parkman, who built up the large practice, he had also, like I said, bought a lot of ground in and around Harvard in Boston. And so he donated a lot of land to the Harvard University for a new medical school. So,
that's cool.
Yeah, in recognition, he received professorship of anatomy and physiology at the school, and so it was called the Parkman Professorship. And the ground was on North Grove Street in Boston. The new building on the left side of the entrance, in the rear of the basement, Dr. Webster had his lab because he was mineralogy, remember? So he was not a medical doctor. So Dr. Webster had his lab in one part of the basement, and then Dr. Parkman, kind of across the hall, had his big lab for his medical students. And I'm assuming it was, if it was anatomy, it was probably cadavers and stuff like that in his lab.
Yeah.
So both doctors had their labs down in the basement, and they both had their offices on the main floors with stairs leading from the basement to the first floor. So if you go into the medical school, I kind of saw some drawings of it. Their offices on either side of the building, and then they had stairs that went down into the basement to their labs, and then main stairs that went up to the second floor.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it was a really pretty building. And Dr. Webster, the mineralogist, was a Boston native as well as Dr. Parkman. He graduated from Harvard in 1811, completed his medical degree 4 years later, and was editor of the Boston Journal of Philosophy and Art, and became a professor in 1827.
Dang.
So these guys really had it going on.
Yeah.
doctors in different disciplines, but he did get his medical degree. He just kind of went into a different area.
Yeah.
He was really generally well thought of as well, but people described him having a little bit of a short fuse, and he was kind of quick to anger. He was married. He had a son and 3 daughters, and his family lived in Cambridge, which was really close to the college. I've been back to Harvard and Princeton, both campuses, and they're absolutely phenomenal. I mean, you feel like you're in like the oldest money in America when you're back there. And
Because it is.
it is. And it's like the campuses are so insanely beautiful, particularly in the fall. It was, yeah. I went in October.
I would love to see it in the fall.
Oh, yeah. So, like I said, both doctors are very, very good friends. They had common interests in science. In 1842, Dr. Parkman, was it Parkin? Parkman. Good grief. There's too many doctors. Dr. Parkman loaned Dr. Webster $400. The note was payable in 15 months with interest. Dr. Webster's household furniture and a collection of minerals was used to secure the loan. So, the doctor of mineralogy, he was always kind of looking for money. He was always a little bit broke. Where Dr. Parkman was a really good investor, he had the large medical practice, he had a lot of money. So, years later, $348.83 of the $400 remained unpaid. He just wasn't really good at paying his debts.
That's fair.
Yeah. So at this point, Dr. Webster received another loan from Dr. Parkman. Now you would think, fool me once. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're loaning money again to your buddy who hasn't paid the first loan back from years ago.
Yeah.
But maybe he thought, yeah, I'll probably never get it back, but whatever.
Yeah.
So he gets another loan for the sum of $1,600. That's a lot of money because his annual salary was only $1,200. So
I know when you first said 400, like nowadays, that's nothing. But then you got to think back to that time frame, like, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money.
You know what's funny is if we had Dirty Birdie on the show, he could calculate it with interest in today's money. So if you guys
that's crazy.
Our if you go to Pocatello Paranormal Research and our YouTube page, we have Dirty Birdie. He's kind of taken a hiatus from the show for a little while because the schedule changed. But he's so funny because if we ever bring up money, he'll go, well, that's $4,782. And today, I'm like, how do you do
that?
Like blowing smoke, but we all buy it every single time. Okay, so he loans him over a year's worth of salary. So how I don't know how he's going to pay that off. So, let's see. Dr. Webster then secured this loan with more assets. I don't know what else he could, maybe his house. So in 1948, Webster needed yet more money. He turned this time to his brother-in-law named Robert Shaw. And he secured that loan for Robert with the same minerals and assets that he had secured the loan to Dr. Parkman. When Dr. Parkman found out, he wasn't happy with his friend, and he announced that Webster was a dishonest man and started demanding payment on the loans. Now, this is the man who was not short of temper. Dr. Parkman was a somewhat congenial man.
Right? But he hit his limit.
I know what that feels like when you hit your limit with someone. On Tuesday, November 20th, he went to visit Dr. Webster in the lecture hall as his lecture was wrapping up. Dr. Webster couldn't escape him in a room full of students, and in front of the students, he demanded payment, and Webster promised to pay him on Friday, November 23rd. So now you've got him cornered. The students are watching it, and you're like, dude, you haven't paid me back any of this money. What did he pay back? Less than $20 on the original.
Yeah.
So So now he's got him cornered. And so he's like, yeah. You'll get your money on Friday. Checks in the mail. All right. So on the 23rd, Webster made an appointment with Parkman for 1:30 in the afternoon. And then Webster then went to the university to his lecture. So on the 23rd, the due date, right? A banker visited Webster at Harvard and explained that Parkman had been to the bank to inquire about Webster's loans because all of this stuff was, I guess, noted with the bank.
Oh.
Instead of like me to you,
Yeah.
it's me to you, but we went to the bank and maybe had it notarized or something.
I mean,
don't know.
smart.
I don't know. Okay. So the banker told Webster that he had a check for Webster and did not want Parkman to intercept it. Wait a minute. Let me read this again. A banker visited Webster at Harvard and explained that Parkman had been to the bank to inquire about Webster's loans. The banker told Webster that he had a check for Webster, I don't know from whom, and he didn't want Parkman to intercept it to help pay off a portion of the debt, so he hand delivered it to Webster. Oh, maybe Parkman went to the bank and said, if Webster's getting any money in, he needs to pay me first.
Mm-hmm.
Before he cashes it and walks out the door, he has to settle this debt. And maybe that's how loans
And
work.
and probably because, I mean, if you think about it, there wasn't the lawyers and everything like it is now. It was your word meant everything. But if they went to the bank and notarized it, then I think that at that time frame, yeah, you could just go to the bank and be like, hey, whatever he's got in his checking account, he owes me. You know that. I'm here to collect.
Right. So Webster said he'd already settled with Parkman. He paid it off. Okay. So now he's lying to the banker. During this meeting, a janitor was near the conversation and observed that there was a hammer that was usually kept in the lab had been removed. Okay. So there was a hammer missing from the mineralogy lab. Now, how you would know that? Maybe they only had one hammer, but you would think there would be a lot of hammers.
Yeah.
In a mineralogy lab because you're always breaking out. Yeah. Okay. So Dr. Webster gave his lecture from 12 to 1. Around 2 p.m., Dr. Parkman was seen walking towards medical college. About 2 p.m., the building cleared out and all the lectures had concluded for the day. The janitor said he found all of the doors to Webster's office and lab locked, although he did hear someone inside the lab and he heard water running in the lab for quite some time. So he's outside the door going, I wonder what's going on in there. Why is the water running? Why is there someone in there? The lab's locked. Like the lab was never locked when the doctor was in there or the students were in there, right? So Webster left the medical college at about 5:30 and he arrived home about a half hour later. He went to a party with his daughters and they arrived home at various times. The family eventually retired for the night around 1 a.m. These people keep late hours. By 9, I'm done. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't.
I'm like,
go
no.
out anymore. I'm like, I can't wait for jammies. I'm like in my jammies at 8. The only time I'm not is when we're doing the show.
I'm like, I'm in my jammies as soon as I get home from work and take off my scrubs.
So during this evening, the janitor of the building attended the party as well. He had returned to the college about 10:30 p.m. He went to the dissection room, so that was Dr. Parkman's lab, and found the lights turned off, so he bolted the door to the room and went to bed. He lived in the building. So he lived in the medical college building.
Okay, that's kind of creepy.
I guess, but yeah, I don't know. Yeah,
I mean, with the cadaver lab?
I don't know.
Yeah.
You know me, I'd be setting up all my paranormal stuff going.
You would be. You totally would be.
I would be. Okay. Rigging them so they moved when the doctor walked in the morning. Yeah, that would be totally me. So Dr. Parkman never returned home that evening. So you had Dr. Webster going to the party with his family, the janitor going to the same party, but Parkman never returned home. And his family was pretty alarmed because that was out of character for him. He came right home. They had dinner,
He was punctual.
Mm-hmm. The following morning, the janitor, whose name was Littlefield, he went to unbolt the door of the dissecting room, but he found it already unlocked and ajar. And he's like, well, that's weird because I locked it last night. So, assumably, he and Parkman would have the only 2 keys to the dissection room because that was Parkman's room. That was his lab. So he thought, well, that's really weird. He must have locked in a student who then unlocked the door from the inside and let himself out, but couldn't lock the door back. Like you could unlock it from the inside, couldn't lock it from the outside without the key. And then he went to Dr. Webster's office and unlocked the door and found the door from the lecture hall to his office had been locked, something he never did. He always kept it open. He's like, what is going on? You know, he can't, but he doesn't know at this point that what Parkman's missing. Nobody knows this. Family. After the day's lectures were over, Littlefield, the janitor, heard water running again for a really long time in Webster's lab. Weird. He's like, this is not normal. 2 days in a row, water running, doors locked. Throughout the day, police start searching for Dr. Parkman, and an award was offered. Okay, but I don't know still if the university really understands this yet. Dr. Webster goes throughout the day, goes to his lectures, he holds his office hours, and he returns home to read a poem to his daughters. Such a nice guy. On Sunday morning, there's discussion throughout Harvard and Boston that Dr. Parkman's has disappeared. Like, nobody has seen the doctor. Where is he?
So yeah, that's really weird.
Yeah, because nobody of this level of prominence had gone missing in Boston at that point. Like, this is not a normal thing to have happened. Like, you have the ne'er-do-wells and the criminal element, but not a doctor who's high society with Harvard. So this is like spreading like wildfire now. Webster, Dr. Webster and his wife discussed the disappearance, and he decided to call upon Mrs. Parkman after church. So Webster and his family go to church, and then he decides to go by Dr. Parkman's house and see his wife. And he told Samuel Blake, who was the nephew of Dr. Parkman, that he'd last seen Dr. Parkman at 1:30 at college, and that he had paid Dr. Parkman $483, and that Dr. Parkman said he would then go to East Cambridge and discharge the debt, assumably to the bank. But why didn't he go to the bank and pay the debt?
Yeah.
And then they could have given it to the doc. But yeah. So now everybody's thinking, oh my God, did Dr. Parkman get robbed? Because he had all this cash. Only he didn't have any of this cash. No. You know it, and I know it. Okay. So Webster ran into Littlefield, the janitor, on the street near the college that evening. Littlefield said Webster told him about Parkman's visit and said Webster appeared confused and agitated. Littlefield then went home. So he was staying in he stayed in the college for like during the week and then went home on the weekends. So he went home and told his wife that he believed that Webster murdered Parkman. So he's the first one to like vocalize this. He's like, I know what's going on here. That evening, Webster called on the home of a city clerk and asked whether or not the mortgage, the loan, everything was called a mortgage then, had been canceled. Because, you know, he paid him. So did you cancel it? He still had that $1,600 though. So he's not talking about that. The clerk said it had not been canceled, to which Webster said, well, that's strange. I paid Dr. Parkman, and he said he was on his way over to pay you, to show you that I had paid it. Okay. The next day, the search for Parkman continued. The reward now rose to $3,000, which is a huge sum of money. Yeah. So if Bertie was here, he'd probably say that's like $429,000.
I'm like, I'm gonna look.
Yeah. Okay. The news reported that Dr. Parkman might have wandered from his home due to an aberration of the mind or have met with foul play. So nobody's putting together except Littlefield that Webster probably did something to Parkman. So Dr. Webster, little Mr. Innocent, he returns to the college in the lecture hall again. And then he, again, after all of this, he bolts the doors. But the police now go to the college, and Littlefield talks to the police and said, something here's going on. So the police met with Littlefield, and he took them to the lecture hall only to find everything bolted up again. And he goes, this is not normal, guys. So they pound on the door, and it took like forever for Dr. Webster to come up and open the door. And they're like, open the door. He's like, oh, just a minute. They could hear him doing stuff, but they're like, what the heck's going on? Why can't you just open the door? So they keep pounding on the door. But so then they search the lecture hall and the offices and the labs, and they don't find anything amiss. But Littlefield's going, yeah, but the water was running for like 2 days in here. What's going on? Like, what is going on? This is out of character. That afternoon, the chief of police received a letter stating, an anonymous letter, you will find Dr. Parkman murdered on Brooklyn Heights. Okay. So they're like, what the hell is going on? The search continues the next day. So what is this, like day 4 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Webster returned to the college at 9 a.m. Littlefield found him reading a newspaper about 9:30 a.m. Webster asked Littlefield to go out and purchase some turkeys. Because it's Thanksgiving, right? We're right around Thanksgiving. A few minutes later, the police arrived to make another search, and they were about to open a door at the rear of the lab where Webster exclaimed, there were dangerous chemicals in that room because it's a lab, and they couldn't enter the room. And they made him unlock the room, and they found like a tea chest standing on the floor. And he said, oh, there's just minerals in there, rocks and minerals. Like, I don't know what a tea chest is, but I'm thinking like a trunk.
Yeah.
He told the police, look, I've got an upcoming lecture, the last for the week, because it's a short week. Thanksgiving is here. And he left to go to lunch. At 6:30 that night, Littlefield was leaving the building, and he met Webster at the entry door, who was also leaving to go home. And they made some small talk. They parted ways. The next day, Wednesday, November 28th, and yet another missing notice was published. This time, the notice indicated that Dr. Parkman had been murdered and posted another reward. The entire city was going nuts because everybody wanted the reward, and they wanted to find the doctor.
Yeah.
Okay. Webster went to college early the next morning. Are you there?
I'm here.
My screen.
Are you there?
My screen just went completely black. Hold on here, gang. There you are. It just turned off. I'm like, what is happening?
I'm like, crazy things.
Oh boy. Webster went to, I have to tell you. Well, I'll tell you when we're done. Remind me to tell you what happened.
Okay.
Webster went to the college early that morning, found the doors locked. Littlefield was even now more suspicious of Webster because it wasn't like him to come in really early in the morning. He sneaked into the lab and heard Webster moving things around. He leaned down on the floor to look under the door, and he could see Webster's feet as they were moving back and forth to the furnace in the lab. Webster left college at 1 p.m. for the long weekend. Okay. At this point, Littlefield decided to go through the lab and the dissection room for himself. And he felt heated the furnace through the wall of the lab and felt and found all of the doors bolted. He did not have keys to the furnace room. At this point, he was convinced something was up. So he went outside and entered the lab through the window. And so he come in through the window. He found several pots of chemicals with an iron cylinder lying on them. And he used a broom handle to stir the buckets of the chemicals. He didn't find anything. But he observed barrels of kindling, noted that just a few days ago, they were completely full, but now the wood had been all burned up. And he saw strange spots on the floor and smelled of acid. So police came in again and deduced that Dr. Webster had killed Dr. Parkman He was arrested and tried and convicted of the murder of the good doc. And it was just like bizarre. And it was all over just a loan of money. I mean, it was a considerable sum of money into time, but it was over the loan of the money. And
Yeah, because I did figure it out. So 300,000 in today's money is $113,866.
wait a minute, 3,000 in that
Mm-hmm.
money is how much
Yeah,
today?
113,866.
A lot of money, man.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah. So
So
I mean,
here's
well,
what
that,
I think
hmm.
is when he went into the classroom and called him out in front of the students, Dr. Webster didn't like that. And so then it was like, oh, I'll show you. You're going to come at
Oh
me
yeah,
for money.
he cornered him, right? Because he's like,
Mm-hmm.
he cornered him like, you're not paying your debts, dude.
And you're going and asking for more money from somebody else with the same stuff that you
The
promised to me on
collateral
the
for the first
loans.
loan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, see, my monitor just turned off again. I don't know what's happening. So let me make sure everything's plugged in. So let me tell you what happened in my house last night. Are you there?
I'm here.
I'm waiting for this monitor to come back. I don't know what's going on. All right. So last night, maybe that's what's going on with my monitor.
That's kind of what I'm wondering.
I know. So make sure everything's plugged in here. Last night, I'm good and ready to go to bed. Like my monitor's totally off. Let me screen. So I'm going to try to move you to a different screen. If I can. I can't. What's happening?
Is it
I
still
think it
off?
died. It's off. I think it's like dead. I think my monitor just died.
That's
Like, I can't even
crazy.
turn it. Yeah. Hold on. What's happening? Okay.
This is just, our normal life of paranormal and electronics.
Totally
Like,
fine. It's totally normal. Everything's normal. It is totally dead. My monitor just died, and I can't get, even though I have multiple screens, I can't get you over onto my other screen. Oh,
that's crazy. Usually it would pop over onto your other screen
I
if
know,
one
because
dies.
this. I don't know what's happening.
That is super weird.
Okay, let me try this again. I'm gonna try to get. Ah, there you are. Okay. Whoa, you just left again. I don't know what's happening. Oh my god. Okay. Let me unplug this monitor completely and see if I can get you to pop up on this screen now. Oh. Uh-oh.
What happened?
Okay, now you're there. Holy smokes. I mean, I don't know what's happening, guys.
That
My
is the
house has had,
craziest thing.
isn't it? It's crazy, isn't it? So let me move my camera.
But your
So
house
last night,
always has things.
well, yeah. So last night it's right before I go to bed. And you know how we all get in our routine.
Mm-hmm.
So after I take my shower and I get all the animal treats ready, right? And it's right before I go to bed. And right before, so it's just me and my old cat Boo Boo in here. And the dogs aren't in yet, the kittens aren't in yet. So, it's pretty quiet. Boo Boo is in the living room, asleep on the couch. And I hear really heavy boots going down the stairs. Boom, boom, boom. Like stomping down the stairs. To the point where I grabbed a sidearm because I'm like, who's in my house?
Yeah.
And, I walk
And mind
downstairs.
you, guys, like her house is like gated in. Like nobody can just get into your property.
No, I mean, you can go over the fence, over the gates, but I have lock gates and shut
Yeah.
gates and everything else. And I had been out riding the horse when I got home from work. So I didn't know if somebody had came in while I was riding, but I could see the house. I didn't see anybody, but I
Yeah.
was busy with him. So I'm like, so I have to come downstairs and clear the house because I'm like, house. That's a little
That's
nerve-wracking.
like
And it was
nerve
heavy enough
wracking.
footsteps that I froze. Yeah.
Mm,
So I
that
cleared
would
the
freak
house.
me
There's
out.
nobody in my house. So not alive anyway. Yeah. So that's my life. People come to me after they pass and I have to figure out who this is. I don't know who it is. Because normally within a day or two I can figure out who they are. But I haven't made the attempt yet to chat with this feller and see who he is. So
You're gonna have to
yeah.
let
But
me
anyway,
know because that's so
I will
interesting. I
let
mean,
you know.
the heavy footsteps, they'll always forever creep me out. But growing up, if you were at my grandma's house, and mind you, my grandpa died inside the house. But if you were in the bathroom, and my grandma's got like an old house, you go through the back door, and like the washer is in with the bathtub and the toilet. But if you're sitting there going to the bathroom or whatever, and the house is like quiet because everyone's outside doing something, it is the
Right.
loudest footsteps you would hear coming down the stairs from upstairs. And the only way you can get upstairs is through the bathroom. So
Huh.
as a child, oh, like that fear, you would hurry up off that toilet and like run outside. And like later in life, I realized it was probably my grandpa waiting around for my grandma.
Yeah.
But like that heavy boot step when no one is there is the
It,
creepiest, scariest thing ever.
when you're not expecting it. So
Mm.
the Forest Service cabin that I lived in for a couple of years had what we would consider, my monitor just turned on.
Someone's messing with you. They
I
want you to
know.
know something.
I know. I've got to figure out who this dude is. But the Forest Service cabin had the original ranger, I think his name was Sterling Justice for Scout Mountain area, because it was used to be called Justice Park and Justice Peak. Scout
Oh,
it
wow.
became Scout Mountain later because of the Boy Scout camp up there. And so
Mm.
that's when they changed the name. But I think Mr. Justice lived in that Forest Service cabin that I lived in, called the guard station, and he was residual. Every day, every morning, every evening, you could hear him walk up from the basement because there was a bedroom down there, up into the kitchen and out the front door. And every night, it was just a pattern of boots, and he wore
Oh,
those, really heavy, like Forest Service logger type boots. Yeah.
mind you, knowing where that cabin is, no, that would freak me out being out there by myself.
I talked to him all the time. I wasn't worried about him. I would hear Indian drumming because we have a picture in our office of teepees all through that meadow.
Oh,
Yeah, it was very well used Indian trading route, and there's teepees all through the meadow through there, and so occasionally when you were down at the creek, you would hear drumming. And we had a drum circle there one night, and one of the ladies from the drum circle, she was actually Japanese, and she turned to me one day and she goes, "Do you see all of them?" And I said, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Look at the creek." I go, "What are you looking at?" She goes, "All of the Native Americans down there drumming and dancing to our drums." Yeah,
how cool would that be?
I had a
But it
mama moose.
makes sense.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and I had a
Like,
mama moose that would stare in the big picture window in the living room every day. She'd just stare, look, see what I was doing. Yeah. So it was a really neat place to live, but it was very, very, very active. Very active.
yeah. Well, and
Hmm.
it kind of makes sense just because knowing where it's at. And if you think like over in the town, over that mountain, over that way, you know where I'm
Hmm.
talking, right?
Arbon.
Auburn. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was where a lot of the native camps were. So it would totally make sense that they would have like kind of that being their trading area.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
But man,
So
yeah, that would be cool to go up there and do an investigation.
it was a wild place. It was an absolutely wild place to live. I've got a lot of stories about that place, but anyway, that's it for the murder show tonight and for the craziness of what's going on in my house. So, anyway, all right, guys, catch us Wednesday nights tonight. Every Wednesday night, So we record the show on a Wednesday night, but every Wednesday night at 7, except for an occasional rarity when we have to take a week off for plans. At 7 for our tarot card show. It's a lot of fun. And then every Thursday night at 7 for our live paranormal show. And that's on Pocatello Paranormal Research on YouTube. Please like and subscribe, share the show. We have a lot of old stories coming your way. But that's it for tonight. Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.